Hey guys, what's going on? This is Brian Martin with your daily Manchester United news show. So as the thumbnail says, what's really happening at Manchester United? So we're gonna dive into that a little bit, but before we start, if you could just hit that like button, subscribe. We are on the road to 1,000. I feel like just yesterday we were on the road to 200. Now we're on the road to 1,000. 756 of you have joined the party. I appreciate it. So yeah, road to 1,000. Subscribe so you don't miss anything. But let's go ahead and get into it. So Wayne Rooney has had his say on the matters, and I'll tell you what he said in a minute. But then also, who's next, right? And again, as the thumbnail says, what's really happening? What's really going on at Manchester United? So let's go ahead and start with Rooney's quotes. So Rooney said, "I don't recognize the whole club. I don't see players fighting. I don't see character. I don't see desire to win. What is going on is not right. This is not all on the manager, by the way. There are players not deserving to wear our shirt, and it hurts. There needs to be a clear message from the owners. At the minute, we're all waiting for it to crumble." So those are pretty harsh, pretty damning words, right, from a club legend such as Wayne Rooney. And he even admits, he's like, yeah, I had a managerial career, didn't quite work out so well. So he's honest in that he understands that it can be challenging to be in a managerial role. And he even held back and debated even sharing these words, right, because he knows that the media will pick it up and kind of run with it and add pressure to Amram. So he knows what it's like to be in the hot seat. So for him to step out and say something like this, it's pretty serious, right? And it also kind of validates what we're all saying and seeing, and that none of us recognize our club anymore, right? I mean, the guy who was behind the walls, who was on the inside there for what, 13 plus years or however long Rooney was there, right? He's saying he doesn't recognize the club. Us as supporters and fans who have been here, been watching maybe even longer than him, also don't recognize the club, right? So, I mean, it validates what we're all saying and thinking, right? Whether we have different opinions on why things are bad or wrong at the club, it validates that we're all seeing the same thing. So, um, yeah, I mean, again, like, but what's really going on, right? And we've been through this cycle of players and managers since 2013. That's over a decade. That's a long time to be in a rebuild, if I'm being honest, right? I mean, there's all kinds of wild questions you could throw out there. Is there something going on beyond the players and managers, right? Obviously, we talk about the Glazers, we talk about Ineos and the ownership and things like that. But, is the media attention too much? Like, is Manchester United too big? Is that something is too big? There's too many eyes, too much media. But I mean, but you can't do anything about that, right? The media is going to media, as people say. Um, I don't know. I mean, is Carrington just not good enough of a training facility? Ronaldo did have his comments when he came back to Manchester United. He said that nothing had changed. So is that part of the problem? Do the players just not feel this sense of pride when they walk through the doors at Carrington? Is it something like that? And that translates onto the way they train, and then it translates on into how they play their matches. Is it something like that? Is there something in the players' contracts that allow them to just kind of down tools and get away with it? Right? Is there some sort of immunity clause? Is there some sort of something in their contract that just allows the players to have the attitudes that they have at times, right? I mean, are the players allowed to go above the manager's head? Are they allowed to go and talk to the higher ups and things like that, so that therefore the player power is just overwhelming at the club, and so it just consumes any manager? I don't know. I don't know. Again, these are all questions to be asked, right? I mean, because at this point, it's been over a decade, so you're wondering what's going on, what has happened, right? Or was Sir Alex Ferguson just that amazing? And yes, he was that amazing, but like, is it really his departure and just he was just so on another level that no one can fill his shoes and come behind him? I mean, we've all been watching for decades now, right? I mean, and it was just the club just fell off of a cliff. And we've gone through players, we've gone through managers. Um, Sometimes you look back and you think, okay, we had the right players and the wrong manager. Other times you look, you say we had, okay, the right manager, the wrong players, any combination of that. But we just still haven't gotten it right. And, we've tried to stick by some managers, didn't work out. Other managers, we didn't give much time. I think Amram's in that same boat of managers that we are not giving much time. And I think that's the right move, by the way, just putting it out there. As you know, if you've watched me any amount of time, you know that I am not a fan of Ruben Amram's tactics professionally. So, you know, I don't know. And on that same note too, right? I just wanted to get into this bit. So just because there were managers in the past who maybe should have gotten more time that we didn't give enough time to, doesn't mean we have to persist now with the manager who's clearly not getting the best out of the players and clearly got the time that he kind of asked for, right? And wanting a preseason and wanting us to be in fewer competitions so that way he can have more time on the training ground. He's gotten those things, and we haven't gotten any better. So, just because we might have been too quick to sack managers in the past doesn't mean that we will be too quick to sack Amram now, if that is the case. Yes, I'm aware of the whole, what is it, November timing or whatever, where after November 1st, I think it's November 1st. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Somewhere in there where we have to pay him what, 12 million pounds or something like that if um if we sack him, something like that, right? But I mean, okay, like how many more games are there between now and that date, right? So that's the amount of points that we could lose. That's how much further behind we could fall, right? So I don't think that it's worth it to be waiting to a certain date to save 12 million pounds if we're going to lose 12, 15, however many points. I didn't look at the schedule. I should look and see how many games we have between now and then. I know we've got the international break coming up after this weekend. So that buys some time. But yeah, like I don't think that's the right move on Ineos's part or the Glazers' part. So, you know, again, I think he's got to at least change something, right? So I mean, I don't understand the stubbornness either. And that's what really started to put me off is why be so stubborn? I mean, we heard Maresca just today, and I even tweeted it on my Twitter account here. You go follow me there. I tweeted it that out, and I said, you know, what am I seeing? A manager who actually says, "Oh, I could have made better decisions. I could have improved some things. I could have done some things better." I don't recall Amram saying that very much, if at all. Again, I don't know every quote he said. I don't claim to know every quote he said since he's been in charge at Manchester United. But I just remember him saying a lot of, or see him saying a lot of, okay, yes, the team needs to play harder. They need to follow the instructions or, things to that nature. But I don't recall him saying, oh, I could have made a better decision here or there. Maybe he has, and I didn't see it. But with given his attitude and his stubbornness and his unwillingness to change, I don't think he said it. I don't think he's going to say it. And I don't understand the stubbornness. I mean, if I'm at my job, if you're at your job and you're not getting positive results, and people around you, your teammates, everyone around you is like, hey, what's going on? And you're like, I'm not going to change. They're going to fire you. They're going to fire you sooner or later, right? So you would be wise to try and find something different, try and figure out a different way of doing things to try and get better results. I don't see why this is any different. Yes, I understand there's a contract involved, but you know the 12 million payout versus the tens of other millions that we could be losing out on because we're not getting the results we need to be further up the table and eventually getting into European competition, which brings more money, right? A lot more than 12 million pounds. So, I don't understand the stubbornness. And then too, like to be so publicly stubborn, right? It's one thing to be stubborn behind the scenes, but then, in the face of the public, you kind of say the right things. But he's so publicly defiant. It's almost kind of like it feels like a slap in the face at times. And whether he means it or not, I don't know. Again, I can't judge his personal character. I don't know the guy personally, but like, it just feels like a slap in the face for us supporters and fans when he's so publicly defiant and so publicly stubborn and stuck in his ways when we're all seeing the results that he's giving us. Right. So that just doesn't feel good as a supporter. Um, it's like if you're at the doctor and you tell the doctor, okay, like I know my medical history, I need to be treated this way, like here's all the proof of it, and they still go and do something different, right? You're like, okay, well, you just disregarded everything I've said and everything we've been seeing and all the hard evidence, right? It's not a good thing. So like I don't understand the stubbornness. I don't understand why he won't, even if he wants to stick to his formation, at least change the instructions and the tactics within that formation. And that's the other thing too. I think sometimes people forget, you know, maybe this 3-4-2-1 thing works, right? I mean, look at Oliver Glasner at Palace, right? Same formation, but different tactically, right? So there's a difference there. There's your formation. You could play in a 4-4-2, but that 4-4-2, even if it's a flat 4-4 and then a flat 2, there might be entirely different instructions for the midfielders and the wingers and the outside backs or what have you, right? So even if he's persistent and just absolutely cannot play any other formation, at least change the tactics within the formation, right? At least instruct the players to get about the pitch a bit more, to play a bit tighter, to try and contain the game. Because honestly, when we play like that, when we contain the game, we are better. When we start getting into these foot races and these running competitions up and down the pitch, when the game gets stretched, is when we get exposed because we don't have the proper midfielders, which I'll get into that later. So obviously that part is not on Amram, that's on the players, but still, at least try something different. At least try, 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3, or like I said, just change the tactics in your 3-4-2-1. Just try something, right? Again, if I'm at my job and I'm not getting positive results, that everyone can see I'm not getting positive results, I'm going to try and change something to get those positive results because at the end of the day, it's about the bottom line at my company. And, you know, that's it. That's that. And if I help improve that bottom line, guess what? I get rewarded. If I, impact that bottom line negatively, guess what? I'm probably getting fired, right? Or I'm not getting my bonus that year or something. So, I mean, I don't understand the stubbornness. Maybe you guys can explain it to me. Those of you here in the chat, let me know what you think Amram needs to change. Let me know what you think, needs to change at the club overall. Whether it's Amram players, obviously we're all Glazers out, so we know that. But I mean, let me know. Let me know what formation you'd play. Let me know what tactics you would employ with the players we have, right? So let's keep that in mind because if we do change managers, we can't get any new players obviously until January. And obviously, I think most managers want to come in and kind of see what they have first before they start making demands on new players, right? So with the players we have, what system would you play? What tactics would you change? What would you do differently? To get the best out of what we have. Again, in my opinion, we don't have the fastest midfielders, right? Like if we were to do something like a 4-3-3, right? For like a 4-3-3, I would probably have Sheshko and Bumo and Cunha across the front three. In the midfield, I would want I'd want Manu there, Casemiro there. I don't know, and this is gonna be controversial. I don't know that there would be a place for Bruno in that 4-3-3 unless you kind of had like a almost like a triangle 4-3-3. So it's like you've got Casemiro and Manu who sit behind Bruno, and Bruno plays a little bit further up behind Chesko and Bumo and Cunha, something like that maybe. So Bruno has a bit more of a free roaming kind of role, right? But he's still in the attacking part of the pitch. I think maybe that could work. But if it's more of a 4-3-3 where you've kind of got like that middle midfielder kind of sitting back, um, I'd probably put I'd probably put you know what? This is going to sound crazy. This is going to sound crazy. I would maybe put Mount there because he's got the engine at least, right? To get about. I'd maybe put him there and then put Bruno and Manu or even Casemiro and Bruno further advanced. I know that sounds completely crazy. I know it sounds completely nuts, but we just need some legs in that midfield. I mean, you know, even if Mount isn't like the best at that role, at least he can get in the face of the opposing midfielders. Because right now we don't have that. We don't have anybody who can chase the opposing midfielders up and down the pitch. It's like once they get past, Casemiro or Bruno or Ugarte, they're just off to the races. And so we need someone in there who can chase them back. So if we were to change things to like a 4-3-3 or something, I'd almost throw Mount somewhere in there to just give us that bit of an engine and energy. I mean, again, let me know what you guys think. I might sound completely crazy to you, so you feel free to say that as well. Feel free to say, Brian, you are nuts for even suggesting that. But I just wonder if something like that would be something that we could try, like a 4-3-3, but like I said, with Mount maybe anchoring that three in the middle some kind of way. Because I mean, like, he's aggressive. He'll get the ball back. He'll run. He'll chase, and then he gets it off his feet. He gets it forward to Bruno or Manu or something like that, and then they do their thing attacking wise. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. I might clip this up and put this out there as well, just to really try and get a conversation around it, because I'm really curious what we could do with the players that we have. I mean, there's also, what, a 4-2-3-1. I think Southgate played that for England, which he seems to be one of the front runners to take the job at United should Amorim get sacked. So there's that. The Areola, he also plays a 4-2-3-1. He's at Bournemouth right now. They are sixth. Um, a guy I would like also plays a 4-2-3-1. Marco Silva at Fulham. They're in fifth place. Obviously, there's Oliver Glasner, who people have mentioned because he plays a 3-4-2-1. He's at Palace, and they're in second place right now. Yes, you heard it right. Palace second place. So, excuse me. There's the Glasner option. And just on that note too, people will see what Glasner's doing and they'll say, see, this is what Ruben does. It's not him, it's the players. And yes, to an extent, I do hold the players accountable in certain situations and roles and positions. I mean, case in point, you saw Brentford's, was it their first goal or second goal, where the player has time to bring it down on his chest and then play a cross in, and like Dalot's seen running the other way. I can't remember if that was the first or second goal, but anyway, so yeah, I do put that down to the players, unless Ruben was like either shouting or he gives them defensive instructions to say, okay, no matter what, you go and you cover this position, which, I mean, some coaches do that, some managers do that. And you got some players who just blindly follow that rather than reading the situation and saying, okay, I know what my manager tells me to do, but I'm still going to do this, right? So anyway, back to Glasner though. Yes, he plays a 3-4-2-1, but his tactics are different, right? He commits more players forward. Their counterattack is much more put together than ours. Our counterattack is not good. Our counterattack is not good. I mean, part of it is due to not having the legs in the midfield. If you notice when we counterattack, it seems to be, Sheshko, Cunha, and Mbumo. It's like three of them versus like five defenders. And you've got Bruno, who's trying his best to get up there, but he's just not fast enough, right? Or Manu if he's there, or even Casemiro. They're just not quite fast enough. So there is a challenge there. I will have to admit that. And that's not Emram's fault per se, although he is picking Bruno in the midfield, and Bruno's not a midfielder. So yeah, I don't know. But again, I get the Glasner talk. I get the 3-4-2-1. They're saying, oh, so it's not Ruben's the players, but the tactics are different. And in Glasner's 3-4-2-1, the tactics are different. Just go back and watch how when they play Liverpool at the weekend, right? Look at how they move about the pitch. Look at how they play. Look at how they counterattack. The other name that's been brought up recently is Xavi. I think Xavi played a 4-3-3, like I was talking about earlier in the show. And again, like, we definitely need more mobile midfielders for that. Again, I would even be willing to throw Mason Mount somewhere in that middle three, maybe as the anchor in that three, to give us that mobility and energy, to get about the pitch. So maybe something like that. But obviously, you've heard the rumors about Xavi. So if you've heard the rumors about Xavi, you know that he might be going to Al Ittihad, since they just fired was it Laurent Blanc? I think it was. Excuse me. So he might be going there. They might offer him big money, because you know how the Saudi Pro League does, right? They just toss all kinds of money at you. So if we're going to make that move for Xavi, we need to make it sooner than later before he goes to Saudi. But anyway, again, on that same note, let me know who you would bring in, right? So earlier I asked, let me know what tactics you would change. If you could call Amram right now, if you could call him right now and he'd listen to everything you had to say, what would you say? What tactics would you change? What formation would you use? What players would you put in what positions? Like, you tell me, as if you were speaking to Amram, minus all the cursing. No, I'm kidding. But you get what I'm saying. No, but yeah, like, what would you tell him? What would you say to him? What would you change? And then obviously, if Xavi comes in or whoever comes in, who would you want to come in? That's the other question. Who would you want to come in? So let me know in the comments. Like I said, I would like Marco Silva. I kind of want someone who's Premier League proven, and I used to be, they don't need to be Premier League proven. And I'm still like that to a point, but at this point, we got to do something different. We got to do something different. We got to do something different. Because we can't continue like this, right? That's the bottom line. I can do all the, gum flapping in the world. Everyone can, wag their jaws as much as possible, but like, the bottom line is, and what's clear and bare for everyone to see, is that we have to do something different. If we keep going the same way, we will be in a relegation scrap and we may not win it. We may not win it. And can you imagine? Can you imagine Manchester United, championship side, going to play at what? Who's in the championship right now? Let's just bring that up really quickly. Can you imagine Manchester United going to play Portsmouth, right? Going to play Portsmouth in a regular season match, not an FA Cup match, not a Carabao Cup, EFL Cup match, regular season, right? United versus West Brom, Manchester United versus Wrexham. Talk about a commercial game right there. United versus Oxford United, right? Battle of the Uniteds. I mean, Sheffield Wednesday, right? Like, you don't want that, right? And with that weird lettering they've got on the jerseys, like, come on. We can't let the club fall like that. So we have to change something. We have to change something, and we need to change it soon, because honestly, I thought Brentford might be where we turn things around. That's why I had my match preview and I called it breakout game. I thought that would be kind of the turning point. I thought we would ride the momentum from the Chelsea win into Brentford. I mean, even DeLitt was talking about it, saying that, all week we talked about riding the momentum. Amram said it himself. All week talked about riding that momentum. And then it's like we right into a brick wall, right? Right into a brick wall. All that momentum we had, all that excitement we had that we might turn it around. Brentford, brick wall. I mean, even with the jerseys, they kind of look like a brick wall, right? Almost. It's like just right into a brick wall. Um, and boom, like here we are, what, 15th in the league or something like that. Let me see. I want to, yeah, 14th in the league right now on 7 points from 6 games. Right. Burnley's in 18th with 4 points. So we are just 3 points out of relegation. 6 games in, 3 points out of relegation. Let that sink in. 3 points out of relegation, Manchester United. Right. So yeah, something's got to change. And it's got to change soon, because our next opponent, Sunderland, are no joke, right? Like, they're better than Brentford. They are in 5th place, right? They've got 11 points from 6 matches. They are in 6th place. They are tied on points with Spurs, who were 4th place, a point behind Crystal Palace. They are 2 points behind Arsenal, who are in second, 4 points behind Liverpool, who are in first, right? So Sunderland are not going to be a walk in the park. They're not going to be a walk in the park. They're not going to be easy. At this point, I see another loss coming, but let me not spoil my match preview, which I'll do before the game. As always, I'll do it the day before. But I don't see us winning that. Um, and then just going back to Amram, what's crazy is that, in the pre-match for the last game, it's like Amram seems to see the lack of urgency in the players. He mentioned it. He said we need to continue the urgency. I forget his exact quotes now, but basically he was saying we need to have that sense of urgency to win the match. But then you look at how the players play, and it's not there. I mean, we looked so lackadaisical defending. Even getting forward, we were kind of slow. But defending, I mean, we're just kind of jockeying like it's a recovery training session, right? We're not closing down people. We're not getting a hand to them. You know, nothing like that. We're so we're so standoffish defensively, and just so slow and sluggish, and just looking confused defensively too. Again, like you saw Dallo just run away from his man. Like what are you doing? Um, so yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I put that down to Emram, the players, probably some mix of the two. Um, but I don't know. And then speaking of leadership, right? Because I feel like player motivation falls kind of into a bit of leadership. Bruno needs to show better leadership. Honestly, if I were to make a tough call, um, apart from hooking him when he's not playing well, I would take the armband off of Bruno. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that this is why we are underperforming. Not saying that at all. But I would take the armband off of him. I don't think that he's showing the right leadership for the club. Um, not at all. Not in the least bit. I think you know he's throwing his arms about and moaning every time. And at first he kind of got away with it because he was putting out so much, and he still puts out, but like he's starting to wane a bit, right? He's not banging in the goals and getting the assists that he was before, but he's still moaning and things like that. And I've often quietly wondered, is that good for the team? All that moaning and throwing of the arms. And again, you saw this last match. I've said it in each video since. Luke Shaw plays Bruno the ball. Bruno misses it and then blames it on Shaw. Like, the ball was fine, Bruno. It was fine. You just missed it. You missed it. And I've seen him do that plenty of times. I've seen him throw his arms at other players and get angry at other players when he makes a mistake. And that's not good leadership. And honestly, if I'm a player, I don't feel comfortable with that, right? Like, you're afraid to really try and play and express yourself around him. If every time you do something, even if it's his mistake, he's going to blame you or someone else, right? That kind of hampers you playing. Again, I'm not saying it's all his fault, but I'm just saying I think that's a contributing factor, right? And that's the thing too with all of this. Just taking a step back, everyone wants to pinpoint one thing, right? It's not one thing. We know that the Glazers are poor owners. We know that Amram's not getting the results, so I think there's blame there. But we also know, like Rooney said, there are players who shouldn't be wearing this shirt. There really are, right? There are players that need to go. And so it's a combination of things. Now, I would start with the manager. I think that he could be getting a lot better out of these players, especially when you've got, Mbuma and Cunha, who are Premier League proven players, right? It's one thing if all the players were, I don't know, new and from some other leagues and things like that, right? Okay, maybe give a bit of a pass, but you've got two players who were standouts for their teams, and now they come to United, and Bumo's doing well, but Cunha's not doing. I mean, Cunha's doing well enough. He's holding his own, and Bumo's doing well, but he's still not hitting the heights that he was hitting before with Brentford, right? So I kind of question that a little bit. I mean, granted, it's still kind of early days for Mbumo and Cunha, if I'm being honest. But I just don't see where Amram's really getting the best out of them, right? Not seeing really any game-to-game improvement. One player I am seeing grow at each game is Sheshko, so maybe he can start banging in the goals, and that helps us. I think he's getting a bit better each game. I think he's kind of one of those guys who gets off to a slow start, or at least in this season he's getting off to a slow start. But I see each game his movement's getting a little better. He's getting more aggressive to try and score. He's taking more shots. And he's got a good shot on him. Like I said with Sheshko, I just wish that he would play bigger. I wish he would play up to his size. But anyway, oh, also want to note on that. So who I would give the armband to is Matthias de Ligt. I think that he has been captain before, right? He's definitely captain material. I mean, you look at his demeanor. First of all, his demeanor is very much captain demeanor. Very kind of stoic, going about his business, putting in maximum effort, right? And then his comments after the game, right? Go to the Manchester Evening News website, right? Check out de Ligt's comments. Much more of a leader in terms of his comments, and you can see he's actually analyzing the game, analyzing how we're playing, our results, things like that, and speaking to it, right? So he's very much leadership, captain material. So I would absolutely make the tough call to take the armband off of Bruno, give it to de Ligt, and put Bruno back in his 10 position, and just let him play. Don't let him worry about being a captain. Let de Ligt worry about being captain, since he's used to that. But again, I'm not saying that's the only reason we're playing poorly. I just think that could help. I mean, in terms of transfer news, I mean, again, it's the usual names, right? There was the Harry Kane talk. He said he was happy where he is, but I would love for him to come in. And honestly, if we get rid of Bruno, I'd love to replace him with Harry Kane, even though he's over 30 and older. He's still banging in goals. I think he too could be an excellent leader, and his goals and assists will replace Bruno's. There's probably a pipe dream at this point, but I'd love to see that happen. And of course, in midfield, there's still Adam Morton, who's at Palace, who's obviously doing well. Angelo Stiller at Stuttgart. Conor Gallagher, who I think we get in January. He's at Atletico. Carlos Baleba, who's at Brighton, hasn't had the greatest start to the season, but again, I think he hasn't had the greatest start because his head was turned and he was hoping to go to Manchester United this summer, but it didn't happen. Brighton didn't let him go, and now he's, sour grapes about it. So I think that's why he's playing poorly. I don't think his talent has suddenly disappeared. So I think we probably get him next summer. Then, of course, there was talk of Ruben Neves from Al Hilal, who's 28, former Wolves player, so Premier League proven, still in his prime at 28. Don't know how the Saudi Pro League sells players. I don't know if they're going to try and do good business, or they're just trying to, if they just want to get them off the books and just say, see you later. We get him for a cut rate price. I wouldn't mind getting Ruben Neves, even if it's just a loan, right? Maybe a loan would be preferable for Ruben Neves. Anyway, let me wrap it up here. So upcoming game schedule: Sunderland, October 4th. We are fifth, or they are fifth in the table. I wish we were fifth in the table. They are fifth in the table. Impressive start for them. As always, I will do a match preview, and this time, a change in programming. This time, I'm going to do a full match watch, or as other people would call it, a watch along for the Sunderland match. It is our last match before we head into the international break. So I am going to do a full on match watch, as I'm calling it, for that game. And then, geez, we got Liverpool right after the break. Man, Liverpool then Brighton. Yikes. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, stick around, or stay tuned for the match, or the match preview, coming out on the 3rd, match watch with me on the 14th, and then of course, or 4th, and then of course there's the post match discussion. And yeah, oh yeah, on the women's front, very quickly. So the women, they beat Liverpool 2-0 on Sunday. The next match for the women in the WSL is a massive, massive, massive encounter against Chelsea. Chelsea are league leaders. We are right behind them, hot on their heels. If we can take down Chelsea, I think that puts us not only in, well, it puts us obviously in prime position, pole position. I think we could win the league. If we beat Chelsea, if we really put down a marker against Chelsea, because we already put one down against Arsenal, where we drew them, I think it was 0-0. If we go out there and we beat Chelsea, that really says a lot. It is a massive, massive, massive game on the women's side. And honestly, I think we can go out there and at least get a draw. And if we win, that puts us in the driver's seat. And I think we win the league. Early prediction, I think we win the league if we beat Chelsea. Anyway, also for that game, I might do a match watch or something like that, because that's a massive encounter. If you're not aware, you should be aware. You should go watch. You should watch the game. It's going to be huge. Anyway, quick reminders: please like, please share, please subscribe, please turn on notifications. We are on the road to 1,000. Thank you to those who have subscribed. I mean, this is well beyond where I thought I'd be with this channel. This is just totally for fun for me. So it's amazing to have, over 700 subscribers. Let's try and get to 1,000. Why not, right? We're on a roll. Let's try and do it. Check out my other channel, Football with Brian Martin. Still trying to grow things over there. I'll probably do is it PSG Barcelona? I think that's this week. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that game on my other channel, Football with Brian Martin. I think it's PSG Barcelona. I think it's Wednesday. Anyway, stay tuned for that. Subscribe to that channel, and we'll do a match watch together for that one. And yeah, I think that's all I got for you guys today. So I will see you on the next one. Peace.